Welcome to the Elite Business Advice Podcast. My name's Chris Moore. I'm the founder of Elite Business Advisors, and the goal of our podcast is to help you grow your business and educate you on things that affect self-employed small business owners. Today, we've got Jeff Fitzer here with Fitzer Media, and Jeff is a social media guru and an expert. He won't tell you that because he's a little humble, but he is very knowledgeable in what it takes to utilize social media for your personal brand and your business brand and how to grow your business through it. So, Jeff, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm actually in the mortgage business, ironically. So you introduced me as Fitzer Media. That's kind of just a brand that I've built, and I've been in the mortgage business for 21 years. And the way I've ended up where I am today is that 5 or 6 years ago, we shifted companies. So we've got a pretty big group, a group that's grown, as you know.
Yeah.
And when we did that, we had to figure out how we wanted to differentiate from the local competition.
Smart.
And at the time, Facebook Live was a new thing.
Okay.
I started dabbling in it. I started seeing people doing like coffee talks and things like that, and it was brand new. And I thought, I think this is something. I should probably go down this path. And from doing some Facebook Lives, it led me to some introductions to some videographers who did green screen, and I got enamored with the goofy, off-the-wall, dancing in front of this is pre-TikTok, by the way. And I started doing that stuff, and it started getting me found, and it created massive opportunity.
That's cool. That's cool. It's been fun to see how you've leveraged social media to utilize in your mortgage business. And that's kind of what I want to talk through today. You know, I've always appreciated your perspective on social media, right? Most people think business pages and like all of that stuff. And while I think there's a time and a place for that, but you've really taken on how you use your personal social media to build your business. So share a little bit kind of like your thinking behind that.
Yeah, so that goes back that 5-6 years ago where I was doing the Facebook Lives, and I don't know, I think I've always enjoyed social media. This is pre what I am today.
Right.
I always kind of enjoyed sharing my life, but kind of entertaining my friends and family. That's what it was at the time. Now it's grown pretty exponentially, but I still enjoy doing that. And I still remember this video. So I was doing the typical talking head, walking around the office. I'm at a meeting, blah, blah, blah. But my daughter at the time, she was 13, and she was making slime. And this was a thing, and she was selling it on Etsy. And I was like, why don't we do a live video? And like, you make slime for the the viewers, and it'll be kind of cool.
Right.
And I remember that video got thousands of views, hundreds of comments, and people, they just loved it. And it was like, like this is what they want. Why am I bothering talking about stupid, boring stuff? Why don't I just give them my life? They already know what I do.
Right.
I would rather just get more eyeballs. And so it just kind of, it's kind of spiraled from there. And as you know, I have to actually force myself to create business content because I'm the guy that turns on my camera who's documenting everything because you never know when it's going to turn into fun content.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's so much we're going to dive into today. I almost don't even know where to start, but I think that the place to start out is talking about the algorithms in Facebook. So I guess to start out with this, what platforms do you recommend small business owners to really utilize for the most part?
Sure.
I know it's going to vary.
Well, I post regularly on 5. So it's Facebook, it's Instagram, it's TikTok, it's LinkedIn, it's YouTube. Yep. That is, telling somebody who's just getting started, you got to go into all 5 is asking a bit much and overwhelming. So I always suggest 2. Start with 2. Okay. And the reason I say 2 is because everybody's got a Facebook page.
Right.
Anybody who's probably 30 up has a Facebook page. And now that Facebook owns Instagram, they talk to each other. So it's logical to have both. Yep. And honestly, Instagram, in my opinion, is the future of social media. It's the next future of social media. For some, you could argue it's the now, but for most, that's still Facebook. For the younger generations, it's Snap, it's TikTok. And of course, YouTube is YouTube. It's a whole other beast in and of itself. Yeah. But if you really want to grow a brand, I suggest, if you don't already, establish an Instagram page and then get in the habit of posting there and then just which will automatically then post back to Facebook, which means you're just getting double the reach.
Which is nice, right? Do the work once, you get twice as much credit. Yep. So then in talking about that with Facebook and Instagram, it's almost like I knew that's what you were going to say. Mm-hmm. But, talking through that, you talk about sharing personal content, right? Mm-hmm. So talk a little bit about like the algorithms and kind of your like logic behind why you share your personal stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so the algorithms have changed dramatically, and they're going to continue to change. And so to me, it's like a game of always staying out ahead of it. Like, how can I continue to get organic reach? Because that's what I focus on. I don't do a lot of paid ads. Yeah. And so because it's constantly changing, the name of the game is very simple. There's not humans behind at Facebook that are just watching and putting your post out. It's just it's
Zuckerberg's
computers.
not looking at everything.
Right. I don't know if he's looking at anything anymore.
No.
All he's looking at is his competition, so he can figure out what to copy next.
Right.
That's
and
what he does anymore.
But
that too. Yeah. So it's all about getting more eyeballs on your content. So if you're consistently putting out, well, actually, let me digress for a second.
Yeah.
Nobody's opening up Facebook or Instagram to look at anything business related. That's not why they go there. They're not going there, so I'm in real estate. They're not going there to say, I want to go see what Jeff's talking about on mortgage today. No, that's not why they opened it. They opened it for mindless content.
Yep.
They opened it because they're killing time. They opened it because they want to see what their friends and family are doing. They opened it for entertainment. And so if you don't give them that, they're not going to ever stop on your content. Right. The algorithm's paying attention, and you're going to become a graveyard. And so the name of the game is the more eyeballs, the more the algorithm's paying attention to how much they're stopping on your posts, how much they're commenting, how much they're sharing, how much they're liking, those kind of things. And the more you get that, the more you're going to show up on people's feeds.
Right.
And that's it's like a billboard.
Yeah.
It's a perpetual billboard to an infinite audience.
Right.
And so it's amazing.
Yep. No, it's good. Well, I think it kind of relates like to the SEO world, right? Google searches, right? The more people that are going to your website and interacting on your website, the more Google's going to boost you up.
Correct.
It's the very same thing with social media. The more you're liking and commenting on things, sharing things, the more people are engaging with yours. Same thing.
Exactly.
It's going to boost you up.
Yep.
And so I know you're a big proponent of utilizing like stories on Facebook and Instagram. So share a little bit about kind of what your theory is behind that. How many times do you post? How do you utilize that stuff to help with the algorithms?
Yeah, so Stories has become, well, so first of all, again, back to what I said earlier, Stories was copied from Snapchat.
Yep.
And you can always pay attention to the social media platforms by what they want you to use based on what they have at the top.
Yep.
Well, Stories have been at the top for a while now, which is kind of a ding, ding, ding. Like that means they want you to use it. Yep. And so, again, not everybody spends time in Stories. Some spend all their time in Stories. Some spend all their time on feeds. But the fact that it's at the top tells you that the algorithm's paying attention. And so if you ever notice when you open up Facebook or Instagram, again, Stories are at the top, you can see about 6-7 people on that first screen, and you got to scroll to the left to see more. I want my face to pop up every time somebody opens up those apps. That's the game. Even if they don't open my story, they're seeing my name.
Yep.
Subliminal. It's the same concept as a billboard. And so the more consistent you are, the algorithm's going to reward you, and they're going to show you more consistently. The engagement still helps,
right?
But we test this stuff. There's no scientific proof to anything. In fact, I don't think even Instagram or Facebook knows it,
right?
And they wouldn't tell you if they did.
I think the algorithms have taken over beyond
100%, 100%. And so what we found is that, first of all, you should be posting to your story every single day. It's your personal reality TV show,
right?
And that's what you should treat it like. So just share what's happening in your day. You can share everything. You can vomit your life. You can get away with anything. Don't do that on your feed. Just do it on your stories. Right. So just be consistent. My personal goal is 5 to 7 stories a day.
Okay.
I try not to be more than 10, and I try not to be less than 2 or 3, just because I want to remain consistent so the algorithm recognizes me. And that's really it. I mean, it's just sharing your life pretty much every single day.
Well, and I like the approach that you take with that about document, not create, right? You're just sharing things that happen. You're documenting the day. You're documenting the things you're doing. People are always like, "Oh, I got to come up with something to post."
Yeah.
No. When you've got kids, when you've got cute dogs,
Correct.
like when you've got like tons of disposable stuff at your fingertips, utilize it.
Yeah. Whatever you're doing with your day. I mean, I can tell you, I haven't posted my stories yet today. I will.
Yeah.
But before I was leaving, literally, I had a squirrel walking up to my office window, poking at the door. And so I grabbed my camera. Then I walked up to the window, and the damn thing stayed right there. It was actually amazing. Well, that's going to be a post on my story because people know that they've got the birds and the squirrels. And
you got a whole fun dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, and then I took pictures here. I mean, I'm just documenting what I'm doing throughout my day. And if I don't, like if I have a day that just gets away from me, that's why I'm always taking pictures and taking videos of what's happening in my life, because sometimes I have to go to the well. So sometimes I have to go to a week or 2 weeks ago and be like, ooh, I never posted that of my kids doing this. I'm just going to go post it. No, because your audience doesn't know any different, nor do they care.
They have no clue.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to remain consistent. I did want to say, too, I think too much posting to stories can create story fatigue.
Okay.
So when you go, if you're familiar with stories and you go to someone's story and you see all those little white lines at the top, right? You either see one or you see like 5 or there's 100. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to go through all of these. And I think it actually creates fatigue. And so that's where I say this because I've heard a lot of social media experts also say it, that they think that is the right number, roughly 5 to 7 a day. But usually I'm speaking to audiences that aren't doing anything consistent. So it's like, just get to 1. Just do 1
1 to 3 is a good starting spot.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah. And it'll grow because you get in the habit of it, right?
Correct. Yeah.
I know we're going to talk next month at our mastermind event about habit stacking your social media posts at things you're already doing, right? Because I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of people don't get in that habit. They don't get in the routine of posting. And I like what you said about consistency, right? You don't post all 5 or 7 things at 10 o'clock in the morning. You do a couple here, a couple there throughout the day to where you're always in the stories, right? Because they go away after 24 hours. So you're always up there. And the consistency helps the algorithms too. So absolutely. I think just trying to be consistent with it and figuring out like, okay, every time I eat, I need to post what I've been documenting, right?
Yep.
So then you at least have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Yep. For some of us, that's 8 times a day. So, I'm going to get a lot of posts in. But, so I think it's just the consistency side of it. Absolutely. I think is crucial. So you talked about 5 to 7 stories a day, posting once, maybe twice on your news feed, roughly you said, I think 4 to 5 times a week. Usually you do that, which is nice because a lot of times you can take your stories and just post it on your feed, if nothing else. So talk a little bit about kind of your 80-20 rule. I know you've kind of 80-20, 90-10, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah.
Share a little bit about that.
Yeah, again, not scientific, but because most of the audiences that I talk to, and I think you are as well, they're professionals. So they're not listening to this because they want social media for the social aspect. Yeah. They want it for their business. And so naturally they just think, well, if I'm going to use social media for my business, I'm only going to post about business. Right. That's where you get lost. Yep. That's where you fall into that social media graveyard. And so we suggest trying to set up your content as an 80% authentic, personal, nothing business related, just about you and your life, and then sprinkle in your business roughly 20% of the time.
I like it.
And so just, you can pay attention to that, and you can hold yourself accountable just by going through your feed, going through your stories. Yep. I mean, on Instagram they have an archive. I can look back 2 years to see what I posted 2 years ago today on my stories, and tell myself how many did I post, right? And so it's all there. The analytics are there. And so you've got to figure out your own cadence. You got to figure out your own, what you want your metrics to be. But, again, if you want to play this game and do it successfully, the name of the game is the eyeballs, which means you're going to get more if you're sharing what your kids are doing, what you're doing with your travels, what you're doing with your hobbies, what your pets are doing, what you're eating, because everybody loves food. It's not hard. Yep. And a lot of people will tell me, well, my life is not interesting. And I have an easy argument to that. Well, bird watching isn't interesting to most people either, but I like it, and so I share it because I'm already doing it, right? I'm not going out of my way to create content. Right. I'm big into fitness. My wife and I are healthy eaters, so I share that stuff. Yep. By default, it makes us, I wouldn't call it experts, but I guess more expert than the average person. And so it doesn't matter if your passion is growing tomatoes. If you grow tomatoes every single year, you know more about growing tomatoes than 99% of the population. Share that. It's fascinating. And there's going to be people that end up consuming your content as a result of that. Yeah. So it's like even other people say, well, I mean, honestly, I spend my free time watching Netflix. Cool. Share that, because you know how many people do the same thing?
And they're looking for new shows to watch.
And they resonate with that. And you're giving little reviews on shows, stuff like that. Yeah. It's like, don't overthink this. Right. Yes, you might think your life is relatively boring in comparison to somebody like me who's going out and traveling and doing all these things, but your life's actually more normal, which is what will relate with the audience than like what the Kardashians are doing. Right. Even though people love to consume that, they consume it for entertainment. But reasons. They consume your stuff because it's relatable. Right. Totally different.
Yep. Well, I think it's a good point. I think like one thing too is, I am of the personality, like there's a lot of things that's just like, why would somebody care about this, right? Like, because I know me, I know the way I'm very task oriented sometimes, if you don't know that about me yet. And so, I'm like, why would I post this, right? But the thing is, what you said earlier, people are going to consume this content, right? So just because I might be in the 5% of people that's like, this is dumb, I would never look at somebody else's stuff, but guess what? I do. Like, post it, because people are going to it to look at that stuff. They're going to connect with people. They're going to keep tabs on people. Sometimes I almost hate social media a little bit, because when you go to catch up with friends, you're like, so what's new? Oh, well, I saw you had a baby, so I know that. Oh, I saw you got a new job. Oh, you guys got a really cool puppy. And like, you're like, so what do we have to talk about now, right? Because on social media, because you've kept connected. But people go there to consume and stay connected with people.
Yeah.
Whether you talk to them very often or not.
100%. Well, and what you just said, though, is also, it's kind of a hack for like networking. So as we get back out in the world again, and this, pre-COVID and now post-COVID, when you're going to a networking event, to me, they were always, and I'm a pretty extroverted person, and I don't have a problem talking to people, but I still hated walking into networking events of 100 people. It's just that awkward. Yeah. Like, who do you talk to? Everybody's just kind of standing around, shaking, hey, how you doing? How's life? What do you say? That's where social media brings you together. So when I started doing my challenges, and I started to get known for that stuff, physical challenges, I would walk into a room and it was a talking point, and it made life easier. So people would just approach me. It was easier. And like to what you just said, they had something to talk about. Right. They already knew what I was doing. So how is that going? Yep. And it was just an easy icebreaker, which makes networking actually better and easier. Yep. That was one of the things that everything I've done has been trial and error. Yeah. Like, I haven't gone to class for this. I have no formal education. In fact, I do have a marketing degree, ironically. But for my final, we had to create a product, and I tease my kids about this because they're like, well, Dad, I didn't even know you did that. And I'm like, yeah, but it was for a print ad and a radio ad, because I'm just that old. Social media didn't exist then. And so it's like, it's totally different world. I guess that's why my brain works differently. Yep. But, yeah,
if it makes you feel better, when I was in college 10 years ago for marketing, we still didn't do social media stuff.
It's crazy.
So, I know.
It's amazing.
But I can only imagine.
I hope they're doing it now.
I would hope so, but I don't know. Like, that's a whole nother topic we could talk about. But so, you talk a little bit about your bio on social media, right? And how important that is to kind of the SEO, like we mentioned earlier. So share a little bit about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, specifically, I talk about this on Instagram. So, again, the name of the game is to gain more followers, and to connect with your audience. Right. But when it relates to gaining more followers, if you put a post out and somebody likes it, naturally, a lot of times they're just going to go stalk you. Right. And so what does your bio say? And you have limited characters, so you need to make it very profound. You want to make it something that makes you stand out, or makes you attractive to the person who's clicking on it. And so, you want to make sure it defines who you are. And obviously, again, you're using this for business, so it's important to define what it is you do. Right? It's important to define what your market is. And, if you have any accolades or anything special about you, put it there. And then make sure you have a link to send them somewhere. Right. And if you don't have a web page, create a Linktree or a Beacons. Yep. If you don't know what that is, go look it up. Go to beacons.com, and it's like your own little – and you can do it for free. That's cool. Basically, it's a way for people to go learn more about you.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of that before. Yep. That's awesome. So what are the 3 most common mistakes that you feel like small business owners make when it comes to social media?
Number one, well, actually, I'd say number one is just a lack of consistency. Okay. Misunderstanding how social media works. And again, I'm that living, breathing proof of, this just little guy from the Midwest who's made a name for himself from coast to coast in an industry. Yeah. And that was really never my intent. My intent was to make a name for myself locally. I didn't realize what would happen. Right. But that's also the power of what the possibilities are. And I know that most of the audiences we're talking to have no desire to grow on a national level. I didn't either. It just happened by accident. Right. But that's the power of social. And so if you take just a few of these things, a few of these tactics and strategies, and implement them, you can become that digital mayor. Right. You can become that person that when you walk into the local grocery store, people recognize you. Yep. That's when you know you're winning. Right. Because if they're already thinking about you, they clearly already like you if they approach you. And so guess what? Whenever they need a paint job done, they're going to think of you. Whenever they need a realtor, they're going to think of you. And that's what you're trying to establish here. And so it's no different than for a lot of business prospecting. Yeah. This should be a piece of your business that you should time block to build into your life, because if you do it consistently over a number of years, like any marketing, like if you start sending mailers out to a subdivision, you know you're not just going to land deals immediately. It's over time, 3 years of people seeing you. Yeah. And so it's the same thing on social media. So number one is probably consistency. I would say number two is definitely the wrong type of content.
Okay.
They're just, again, people are overthinking it.
Yep.
They think they need to be talking about their business. But unless your business is interesting, and in mine, real estate and mortgage is not. Real estate's interesting, but people are drawn to $1 million homes.
Right.
They're not drawn to your $150,000 listing. They don't care about the awards you won. They don't care about the Monday market update. Nobody cares. They can go find that if they want it. And so give them, give them what they want, which is just simply sharing your life.
Well, and I think it's an important thing to point out too, like, business pages still need to be used.
Yeah.
Right? Because people are going to social media to establish credibility with your company, to check in and, just get to know you. Maybe they're searching on social media for a painting contractor, a real estate agent, a mortgage lender, or they're searching on Google for that and they're going to your social media stuff. So I think that's a big thing that we see a lot of clients make mistakes on is you do need to keep your business page updated and current, right? Nobody wants to go to a company's page and they haven't posted in a year and a half.
Yeah.
Are they still in business?
It's like almost like a website.
It is. Like, it's just, but it doesn't need to be used for a lead generation. In my opinion, if you get leads off your business page, fantastic. But if nothing else, it's a selling point and a credibility feature for you. You can share it to your personal page. Maybe that's some of your 20%. Like, there's ways to integrate it into what you're talking about. That's not just relying on it.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of find that balance in there too.
Agreed. And we're talking about Facebook here when we talk about business pages. But the other reason why you should have a business page is because that's the only way that you can run targeted ads.
Yeah.
And that is a powerful tool. Yep. It's become less powerful in real estate, but most other industries have not been targeted by, by basically condensing who you can target. So having the ability to run ads is super powerful. And so if nothing else, you should have a business page for that reason.
Agreed. Third mistake you see? Was there another one?
I say consistency and the type of content. I would say just being yourself. Yeah. I think a lot of people try to be Gary Vee. They try to be that celebrity. I always tell women in crowds, it's like you should intentionally go on camera not all dolled up, because that's not the real you. Yep. And you'll be surprised. You'll actually get more engagement if you, I'm not saying roll out of bed, depending on what that looks like.
Right.
But however you look on a Sunday afternoon. Go live. You don't have to be perfect every single time.
You gotta be relatable.
It's like a newscaster. Yeah, and like they are dialed up by a makeup artist. That's not real. That's not what they really look like. And so you will actually, again, it's relatability. Yep. And like the slime video, so many parents watched that and it was relatable. That's why it got so much engagement. Well, all that did was it's like a lead game. And so now all of a sudden what happened is after all of these people engage, now the algorithm says all of these people like Jeff's content, so I'm going to put Jeff's content high up on their feed. Now the odds are if you're sharing consistently, one of my posts, if not a bunch of them, are going to be showing up when they're scrolling. It's going to be like Jeff and then another post, another post, another. Jeff again, another post, another post, another post. Jeff again. That's winning. Like, I mean, you can't buy that.
Well, I think the strategy with social media, like the kind of overall strategy, is to stay top of mind with people, right? Subtly, subconsciously, whatever you want to call it, to stay top of mind, right? When somebody thinks, I need a mortgage, they think Jeff, right? When I need a real estate agent, they think so-and-so. And so I think that's a big part of it. And I think going back, to the 80-20 rule and kind of the thinking behind it from what we've talked is people are going to engage a lot on your personal stuff. So if you get a ton of engagement on your 80 to 90% of your posts, even if you don't get a lot of engagement on your business post or something when you sprinkle in your business, you still have enough momentum going from the other 80 to 90% that it's not going to kick you down on the algorithms, right? So like that's where really focusing on the personal stuff, the fun stuff, getting to know people is going to help boost up whenever you do post your business. But if you're doing 50-50 and you're getting a ton of engagement on some and none on the other, well, then Facebook's going to kind of kick you down a little bit.
Right. Well, and I will say this too. the likes and the comments is vanity, right? At the end of the day, especially views, that's totally vanity. Like if you have if anybody's experienced a viral video, it's mainly vanity. You're probably not selling anything. It was just entertaining, right? There was a reason why people watched it. So at the end of the day, and nowadays it's becoming, our attention spans are less than that of a goldfish. And so we are, even as a society, becoming so lazy that we scroll social media and don't even like anymore.
Right.
We're just that lazy. And so it amazes me, and I gave that example when I spoke to your group a couple of weeks ago about a guy who called with a lead. And I haven't seen him liking my stuff or commenting on my stuff, but a comment he made to me was, "I love what you're doing." I knew what that meant. It means he's following on social media but not actually engaging my stuff. He's a ghost follower, which most of our audiences are.
Right.
And so don't get caught up in the vanity. Don't worry about it if a video flops or a post flops or whatever that even means to flop. And I guess really vanity for vanity's sake. Don't worry about it because from a consistency standpoint, you are being seen. They are remembering you, and when they're ready, they'll reach out. And so you can't force it down their throat. It's just like the concept of talking about their business. Most people don't need a painter every year.
Right.
Maybe not even every several years. Same thing in real estate. Same thing for mortgage. It's like, so if you try to cram it down their throat, all you're doing is annoying them. You meet them on their terms, and they'll come to you when they're ready. And that's why the patience, and that's why people struggle with this, because everybody wants to get rich quick, which just doesn't exist anywhere.
It's a long-term gain.
100%.
Long-term investment gain. So you talk a little bit about having kind of 6 F's of content to share. So walk through kind of what those look like.
It's just a little reminder. So when anybody's struggling, like, I don't know what to post, just remember the F's. And it's, I'm probably not going to remember all 6 of them.
I shouldn't put you on the spot.
Family, food, fitness, finance.
Fashion.
Which fashion's a big one.
Yeah.
And I don't remember
the
last
last one.
Not for
me, but
you have the.
So it's the 5 F's. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a 6th.
I should have wrote the 6th one down.
But yeah, they're fun. Might have been.
Yeah.
There's tons of F's you could throw out there.
Firearms.
Also good, actually. Fireworks,
yeah,
also
exactly.
good.
Right,
yeah, see, I mean,
coming up on the 4th.
it was originally 4, and it keeps growing.
Yeah.
But there's so much stuff. But the point is it's right in front of your face.
Yeah.
And again, stop overthinking it. Gary Vee says this, and just turn your camera on more often. And because you are going to overthink it. You are going to think, who cares about what just happened? Right. Who cares about the squirrel that came up to my window? Believe it or not, I'll get engagement on that.
Yeah.
And when I share the bird stuff, there's a lot of people that are not into fitness at all. In fact, it annoys them because they're lazy and out of shape, and they don't want to see it because it just reminds them how out of shape they are. But that's not who I'm talking to then. I'm talking to the people who can relate. So I just use what I'm already doing with my life because I'm going to find pockets of people. I'm not going to be the Kardashians and have millions of followers. I'm not going to be Jake Paul and I'm not going to be that influencer. I know that. But I can be an influencer in my industry. Right. That's possible. You can be an influencer in your industry.
Right.
Anybody listening to this or watching this can be an influencer in their industry. That's real.
Right.
But you do that by, again, being consistent. I mean, I've talked to contractors. I've talked to landscapers. Like the HGTV has made that stuff really popular.
Yep.
And so if I'm a contractor, I am documenting every job.
Yeah.
Every job. People are just enthralled by that stuff.
Yep.
And so like if I'm a painter, I'm having a couple of cameras, a couple cell phones.
Yep.
I'm probably setting one up on time lapse to where you can watch it to happen.
Right.
I'm setting another just normal camera up, and I'm just documenting this stuff. I'm gonna get good at editing. I'm gonna understand how to use iMovie or Viva, basic stuff, and I'm gonna create my own content. And I would be doing that you're already doing the job. You're just creating content around it. You're going to draw people in. What are they going to do?
Right.
They're going to remember what the hell it is you do. Then you're sprinkling in your life, and all of a sudden they're watching you with your kids or your pets or your hobbies or whatever it is. Now they like you.
Right.
They like you on a personal level. They feel like they know you. That's so powerful.
I tell contractors all the time, I'm like, you have the best opportunity to showcase your work.
Yes.
Because you have before and afters and throughout the process, right? no offense, as a mortgage lender, you didn't have that.
It's impossible.
Right?
What the hell am I going to share?
This family came in and didn't have a mortgage, and now they do.
Yeah.
Like,
you're going to document me taking an application,
right.
and then you're not. You know,
you get a picture whenever they stand in front of their house with the sign.
Yeah, and that's more realtor than it is mortgage.
It really is. Yeah. So I think that's a big thing to take advantage of. So you talk a little bit about TikTok, and I kind of know how you've adapted to this platform and how you've utilized it and stuff. But share with the listeners a little bit on how you use TikTok, even if it's just to make the content to then share on your other platforms.
Yeah, I love TikTok. It's I was a very early adopter, especially for my generation, because I have teenage kids,
right.
and so they turned me on to it very early. And then I started barking about it to my real estate audiences who told me I was an idiot, and now here we are. And TikTok's technology is amazing. A lot of people will argue the audience is still very young, and it's true.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can give you countless examples of realtors who've gained listings and gained clients because a teenage kid brought a TikTok to their dad, who's a millionaire, and he said, "I need this. I want to buy this house," and blah. There it goes. I use it for content creation more than anything. I have a ton of followers there, but that's just because I was an early adopter.
Right.
It was very easy to go viral in the beginning,
yep.
but I use it because it is way more efficient for me to create content. The technology is above anything that there exists. So it is my camera. Right. It is my editor. I can add graphics. I can add text. I can add licensed music. It now captions my videos. Yeah. It's freaking incredible. And so I just love it. I love to use TikTok as a creation piece. And so a lot of people look at it as, well, that's a dumb. Well, actually, nobody says that. If right. you go on to TikTok, you will be entertained. Yep. If nothing else, you're going to have some fun. Yeah, it is enjoyable. My wife and I laugh more watching TikToks together than anything. Everybody can say that. But if you look at it for what it is, which is a powerful piece of technology, I then create most of my content there. I have a strategy. You've heard about this. And then I post it back. So every time I post a TikTok, it downloads to my phone. So now it's organic in my phone. And then I post it directly to Facebook. Yep. I post it to Instagram. I post it to LinkedIn if it's relevant. And now YouTube has YouTube Shorts, which is another thing, a great thing to point out is the next progression of what social media is going, short form content. Yep. TikTok really started it. Instagram immediately copied it with Reels. Yep. All of a sudden, YouTube, which is long form content platform, now has YouTube Shorts. Yep. What does that tell you? It tells you that that's where the future of the world is going. Right. And so, if you're a little bit more advanced, if you're new, that's okay. Like, start thinking that way, though. Right. If you've been creating content, though, if you're somebody who's been doing Facebook Lives over the years, you're probably guilty, because I was, of going live and talking for 3 to 5 minutes, just blabbering on. Right. If you can learn how to use platforms like TikTok, which actually now go to 3 minutes, and I hate that about that. I wish they wouldn't have done that. It's like they sold out in a way. Yeah. But if you use the 60-second feature, and if you can do 15, even better. But usually, if you're putting out educational content, you need at least 60 seconds. But if you can learn how to get your message dialed in to sub 60 seconds, that's really important. Right. Because a lot of people will say, well, when I'm posting my TikToks, it has the TikTok watermark. I'm like, good, because that tells my audience I'm not going to waste their time. Yeah. Who cares if the TikTok watermark's on there? All I'm doing is subliminally telling the audience, well, this might actually be pretty good.
Yep. And it's going to be less than 60 seconds.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, and not other than the 3 minute now. Yeah. But mainly that's why I love it. And again, if you understand creating content and creating video, you know that to do what you can do within TikTok will take you double, maybe triple the time with traditional means. Right. Shoot it on your camera, upload it to an editor, then edit it. Yep. You can't add licensed music at that point unless you own it, which you probably don't. And so it's just so many things. And then if you caption it, then I have to ship it off to rev.com for them to caption. There's so many steps
that it just does.
I can do everything within TikTok.
Yeah. And I think that's super powerful. I think one thing too, we were talking earlier about stories, right? Mm-hmm. And knowing what the platform wants you to use. So look at the new things that they're adding into this stuff. Yeah. Same thing with TikTok, adding in the captioning, adding in the licensed music. Like, when you see new tools popping up, you want to use those because the platform wants you to use those, and guess how they reward you? Boost you up the rankings.
Exactly.
Right? Yep. So when you see new features, tons of different things. Obviously, Instagram's got a lot of the new filters and different things you can add on to stuff. Like, utilize that stuff, because that's what's going to boost your algorithms.
Yep. And if anybody's asking themselves right now, well, how do I know about that stuff? Funny you should ask. We started a group, Facebook group. There's 9,000 members now, called Drunk on Social.
Yep, I love it.
And all we do is talk about the latest news.
Yep.
Tristan and I are just staying hip. We just subscribe to some things and we're watching it because we're actually interested in it.
Right.
But all you have to do is, we have a podcast now. That's all we do, is talk about what's happening on the social media world. And on that Facebook group, it's just us and some other moderators who execute at social media at a high level. Yeah. And all we're doing is sharing things that have worked for us. We're sharing the latest. Right. Like, somebody finds something new, a new little feature in Instagram, they share it. And that's how I learned about all this stuff. I just paid attention.
Otherwise, you can't keep up with it, right? So you got to know the source to go get the information. So exactly. I appreciate that you put your time and effort into doing that. Yeah. So, well, that's good. So we talked already about the algorithms. You talk a lot about 3 pillars of content, right? It kind of goes back to the 6 F's and different things, but share a little bit on your thoughts on that. Yeah,
well, pillars of content just in general is you defining like who you are going to be.
Right.
And so everybody has 2. You have your personal life.
And you have your business.
And you have your business, right? Now, out of your personal life, you can probably create some other pillars. And the reason why I like to do this is because I just want to be known for what I know the most about, right? It makes it easier. Granted, I share a lot of random stuff, but by and large, you just try to figure out, like, what is it that you're into? Are you into hunting? Are you into fishing? Are you into fashion? What are you into? And then make a point of creating consistent content around that. And so the 3 pillars that you're mentioning are what I did with TikTok. So I just was testing TikTok, and if you go to somebody's TikTok, you'll see their the name escapes, but you'll see all their videos, right? Their grid. And what I do is I put different covers. I color code my grid. And the reason I did it is because I have the 3 pillars. So it's mortgage and real estate is 1, video and social is 2, and then personal is the 3rd one. But I'm forcing myself to say you have to stay in order. So that way, when you go to my grid, it's like all red, which is all, business, all white, which is all video and social, all black, which is all personal, right? And so it just looks clean.
Yeah.
The reason I did it was to force myself to stay consistent.
Right.
Don't get in a habit of getting 10 personals to 1 business.
Right.
And so that was to force me to create more business content. So now I have to stay in order. In fact, I'm now sitting on a few days where the next up in line is a business post, a real estate and mortgage, and so I script all my stuff because it makes it easier, and so I need to do that. I actually need to do that probably today.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'll hold you accountable later.
Okay.
But one thing too, and we'll kind of start wrapping this up. But one thing that you talked about, and you just hit on it, scripting stuff, right? I think a lot of people overthink video, whether it's personal, whether it's one of your 3 pillars of content. And so I know you've shared before at our last group about getting a
teleprompter.
Thank you. Thank you. There's a lot of apps out there you can use for that. And then the other thing is the jump cutting stuff, which is kind of hard. The video you used last time was really easy to see it. So it's probably a little hard to describe it on a podcast. But basically just cutting things in short segments, right? Moving around where you're locating at. You don't have to record the whole, 7 sentences all in one spot. You can record one in different areas and then put it all together through some of the apps and iMovie and different things you've talked about. So I think getting creative with stuff, right? It makes it fun. Like, I see a lot of the videos you do with that theory, and it's clean, it's easy. You just memorize one line, you say it, you shoot it, you go on, you look at the next one, right?
So it eliminates the ums, it eliminates the fluff.
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing. And if you want to know what a jump cut is, I mean, it became popular on YouTube, and what it was is YouTubers, like popular YouTubers, just sit and talk about something. It's really dumb in my opinion, but my whole family watches people.
I know, everybody does, right?
But what they're doing is they're just sitting and recording probably a 30-minute video and then cutting it up because they screw up or they say something, they want to say it differently, and so they're cutting it up, which creates a jump cut. And so if you're familiar with Reels or TikTok, for example, when you're recording, in a lot of cases you're just holding a button and talking, stop. You can shift where you hold a button, stop. Go back here, that creates a jump cut. And what I've figured out is, because I coach on this stuff and I teach people and I'm trying to help them create more content, what I've found is that I hear more people say, when I shot my video, this 3-minute video took me 2 hours to create. And I'm like, listen, figure out what you want to talk about, script it in advance, and script it line by line, right? Or you can do one of 2 ways. You can do the line by line and say one line at a time as a jump cut, or you can just put it in a teleprompter and read the damn thing on the screen, right? But if you take 5 or 10 minutes to script out what you want to say, it's going to take probably 1 take, maybe 2 or 3 takes, and you're done.
Yep.
So take a little bit of extra time on the front end to save yourself a hell of a lot of time on the back end, because it makes it easier. And a lot of people are probably thinking, well, I don't even know how to script. It's not as hard as you think.
Literally just writing out your thoughts.
Because usually, exactly. Usually you have these thoughts and you know what you want to say, then you go live and you totally fumble it. So if you script it, and you can't do this on live unless you literally have a written script there. But that's why I don't even do live much anymore, just because I create so much content, and I've just found it. I create so much, I had to make it efficient for myself too. I have to make it to where it doesn't take me 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour to create something. And so that's just what I've realized,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, as we kind of wrap up, what's one final piece of advice? Like if people, got sick of listening to us, they tuned out, but they listened back in here for the last 30 seconds, what's one final piece of advice you'd give to people listening to this about social media?
I'd say stop overthinking it. I would say, no matter what your business is, again, if you're listening to this, you probably are in a business of some sort that you want to use social media. I would say just start getting in the habit of turning on your camera. You might annoy your family in the beginning, but they get used to it. And frankly, they end up enjoying it. My family is totally a social media family now. I can't even imagine what's going to happen to my 2.5-year-old.
Or what social media is going to be like in 15 years.
That too. But she's grown up with it, right? But that's it. It's really, don't overthink it. Stop. Even if you don't share any business content, just every once in a while you sprinkle it in, because that's the name of the game. It's just a reminder. Share your life. Just share what you're doing in your life more consistently, and just get in the habit of doing it several times a week. Try to do your stories daily because that's easier. But just try to get in the habit of posting consistently to share what you're doing with your life, and you're going to find more people gravitate towards you. And eventually, someone's going to call you and say, I saw this recently. And that's when that little light bulb's going to go off, the ding, ding, ding of, holy crap, I probably wouldn't have gotten this lead or this sale if I hadn't shared what I just did this weekend. It's that easy. Yeah.
I love it. I love it that you just simplify it, right? Like, to me, every time I've heard you talk about it, you just simplify it down to a spot that's like, just do this. 5 to 7 stories a day, a post every day or two. And just stay consistent.
That's it.
So cool. Well, Jeff, I appreciate you being here. How can people get a hold of you? How can they follow you on social media? Go ahead and plug yourself.
Yeah. So, that's the easiest way to find me is just my name. So it's Jeff Fitzer, and I'm sure they can see the name. The spelling of the name is unique. But it is that on every platform. So Facebook, I'm Jeff Fitzer. Instagram, Jeff Fitzer. TikTok, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I'm very easy to find. Feel free to reach out. Feel free to message me on any of those apps if you want to. I'm easy to get a hold of, and I'll respond to everybody. Sometimes it'll take me a little longer than others, depending on what I'm doing. But yeah, I love sharing.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you very much. Thanks for all your knowledge and insight. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Awesome.